First thing I want to say before I start this video is apologies that I didn't do an NXT review last week and yesterday when I usually would do. A couple of things have contributed to that. I've been on holiday, I've been out of Peterborough, so I haven't really been able to get access to a webcam or a computer, or quite frankly, I haven't really been in the mood to do videos because I've been on holiday. But I'm back to normal now, so from now on, it'll be an NXT review every week, I guess, until the next time I go on holiday. I'm going to do an NXT review now for the 2nd of October show, and then some point over the weekend, perhaps Saturday, I will put up my review of this week's edition of NXT, the 9th of October edition of NXT. So, you know, you'll be getting 2 reviews from me in 2 or 3 days. So if you like my NXT reviews, then this next couple of days is definitely going to be for you. If you have any comments on the show, please let me know down in the comment section below, and let's get going. I was very glad to see the NXT Women's Championship get a prominent spot on this show. It wasn't going to be the main event because of Tyson Kidd's last chance match against Adrian Neville for the NXT Championship. So in that case, I'm glad it opened the show as the opener, and the main event are the 2 most important spots on the show. I didn't want it to get stuck in the middle of the show where it would probably be forgotten. These ladies deserve it after the match they put on at NXT Fatal 4-Way or NXT TakeOver 2. So this was the rematch from there. Charlotte versus Bayley. In many ways, this was like a light carbon copy of their Fatal 4-Way match with, let's face it, a worse crowd. They did a few new things, and generally, these two had a pretty good match. I mean, it was pretty obvious Charlotte was going to win, which kind of maybe took a little bit away from it, because if Bayley was going to win, she would have done it at Fatal 4-Way. But nonetheless, these two had a pretty good match and told a good story. Charlotte gets the victory, but in the end, Bayley gains Charlotte's respect. So even though she's not winning the championship, she's winning something that she's been trying to get for quite some time in some legitimacy, and B, some respect for that legitimacy coming up against Charlotte, who is probably by far the best woman on the NXT Divas roster right now. I'm really glad they just, you know, cut out the match between Hideo Itami and Victor in their segment and just had it end up being a beatdown segment, you know, because I just think, in general, I just think it's more creative, it's something a bit different, and it helps continue the feud on a little bit better without there being some kind of clean victory or anything. So I was glad when this match ended up pretty much being a beatdown segment before the bell, involving referees and trainers, etc., which, like I said, is a much better route than going down a singles match, you know, etc. And Kenta, or Hideo Itami as he's known, sold the beating quite well. It's just a shame they kind of like cut off it quite quickly. I think they maybe could have done a little bit more to sell it by staying on the segment more, especially if you really want to highlight Hideo Itami and his feud against the Ascension. I will say this though, now this was a pretty good segment in continuing on this feud, and at least we didn't see any fucking kicks. You know, I'm really entertained and I'm enjoying these backstage segments with Enzo Amore, Colin Cassidy, and Carmella, and their introduction of Carmella as an NXT Diva character. You know, this time you have Enzo Amore in the Performance Center ring with Carmella, you know, trying to sort of pull her, etc. And then she drop kicks him out the ring, and then Enzo says to Cassidy not to put that out on the internet, but as we all know, he does anyway. So I'm really entertained by, you know, not just by Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy, but by the whole thing they're doing here with introducing a new NXT Diva. It's something very unique. I mean, it's a very unique way to bring in a new diva, and it keeps these guys on TV entertaining us every week, even though it is in a backstage fashion. I'm really enjoying these backstage segments. I really am. I actually can't wait to see, number one, Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy face the Legionnaires next, which actually they got a challenge, you know, through a backstage segment of their own. Why the hell not do that? And I can't wait to see Carmella's introduction to the NXT, because they've done a good job in actually building her up and giving her her character before she gets to TV, and building up to her first appearance, which is going to happen in 2 weeks' time, as I'll talk about next week. I'm going to give you a new hashtag. Baron Corbin for NXT Champion. This is the kind of guy that I can see being a proper top guy and a potential main eventer down the line. No disrespect for Adrian Neville, but does he really look like the kind of guy that's going to be a top guy down the line? Probably not. I look at Baron Corbin. He's nearly 7 foot tall. He's nearly 300 pounds. The guy just looks $1 million. He looks exactly like the kind of guy and exactly the kind of character that WWE would push all the way to the top, and not just to mid-card level. So when I'm seeing Baron Corbin plowing through another jobber, and especially with the finisher they have gave him and just doing his little smirk when he comes into the ring, which the ladies seem to love, I just think, my God, Baron Corbin, with a bit of training and a bit of improvement over time, could be an NXT champion down the line. Very, very easily, in my opinion, because he would just dominate a roster which is full of small people. Essentially, that's what he is. He's something different. So the Vaudevillains had a match with Ty Dillinger and Jason Jordan. You know, I'm not really sure about the Vaudevillains' new music. It sounds a lot more heelish, but I guess NXT have kind of got to push them as heels now, even though the crowd seems to really like them, because they're probably more than likely going to be the new contenders to the Lucha Dragons now, as they're really the only other legitimate tag team that NXT have that can actually, you know, go at them right now. So while I don't really like the Vaudevillains' new music, at least it will go some more way to have them, you know, be able to be heels, which essentially they will have to do against the Lucha Dragons. And they have a t-shirt, which I think is pretty awesome as well. The Vaudevillains win this match quite convincingly against Ty Dillinger and Jason Jordan on their way to, I believe, being the new contenders to the Lucha Dragons. I'm sure at some point down the line that will be made official. And then we get to our main event of the evening, which was actually announced the week before for once. Adrian Neville versus Tyson Kidd in a match for the NXT Championship. And this was Tyson Kidd's last chance at the championship while Adrian Neville was the champion. I must admit, I said last week, I wasn't really interested. You know, we've seen this match numerous times now, and I just wasn't interested in seeing these two guys face off again. I was actually more interested when I saw Titus O'Neil out there. I was like, right, something's definitely going to go down. So this match really took a second plate to what was going to happen with Titus O'Neil here. And it was also quite interesting that Adrian Neville got a few boos from the crowd. I don't know whether they were pumped in or what, but if he is going to be like the more heelish character in this potential feud with Sami Zayn, which they're on the slow burner right now, then this is a positive sign, really. And, you know, like I said, I wasn't too interested in the match, so I'm not really going to talk about the match because, you know, we all know what these guys can do in the ring, etc. I became more interested when Titus O'Neil got involved, like we all knew would, only for Sami Zayn to come down and give him a haluva kick, allowing Adrian Neville to get the rightful victory over Tyson Kidd, which means that he now cannot face Adrian Neville for the NXT Championship as long as he is champion. And I felt this main event segment, you know, while the focus was taken off the NXT Championship a little bit, it did a lot of things. You know, it's gotten Tyson Kidd out of the title picture. It's given Adrian Neville another big win, you know, to be NXT champion. And it's furthered the long-term feud between Adrian Neville and Sami Zayn in a way. You know, they're acting like a bit more like friends now, and you know that's going to, you know, sort of break up at some point. And now it's given something for Sami Zayn to do in the short term for a program with Titus O'Neil, which was the main event on next week's NXT show. So this main event did a lot of good things for me in terms of direction for NXT, which I think NXT have done quite well on this show in general and will do on next week's show in general. And that's give some characters and feuds a little bit of direction, which they really did need, especially after Fatal 4-Way or NXT TakeOver 2, where most of the feuds kind of ended and they kind of needed to wrap stuff up. So overall, in general, I thought this was an okay show. I mean, the main event was a good match and it led to a very interesting ending. It looks like the Vaudevillains are being built up as the next, you know, legitimate tag team. Baron Corbin on the show is always a plus to me. Real entertaining stuff by Team Soft. I thought the Ascension and Hideo Itami segment was pretty well done in the sense that it was a little bit different. And Charlotte and Bayley had a pretty good NXT Women's Championship match. I can't really complain about too much on this show, to be honest. I really can't. So let's hope next week brings the same, if not more. If you have any comments on this week's show, please let me know down in the comments section below. And make sure you tune in either Saturday or Sunday, more likely Saturday, for my review of this week's edition of NXT, the 9th of October edition. That'll be up soon. Thank you very much for watching and goodbye.